Leora stood on the verdant plains of her home planet, gazing at the twin suns setting over the horizon. The Lyrans had always lived in harmony with their environment, a testament to their advanced knowledge and deep empathy. Her people were known for their peaceful existence, a stark contrast to the violence and chaos that often characterized other civilizations. The tranquility of Leora's evening was shattered by a deafening roar from the skies. She looked up to see massive human spacecraft descending, their engines burning with a fiery intensity. Panic spread through the Lyran community as the invaders landed, their intentions clear. The humans, driven by a desperate need for resources and expansion, had come to conquer. The initial clashes were brutal. The Lyrans, despite their advanced technology, were unprepared for the sheer aggression and ruthlessness of the human colonists. Leora fought valiantly alongside her people, but they were overwhelmed. In one of the many brutal encounters, she was captured and taken to a high-security facility, her fate unknown. As she was dragged away, Leora's mind raced with thoughts of her people and their suffering. Her heart burned with anger and a fierce determination to resist. No matter what the humans did to her, she vowed to remain strong and find a way to fight back. In the cold, sterile confines of the facility, Leora was subjected to harsh interrogations and brutal punishments designed to break her spirit. The humans wanted to extract information about Lyran technology, hoping to use it for their own gain. Despite the relentless torture, Leora's spirit remained unbroken. Her anger only grew, fueled by the knowledge that her people were suffering under human occupation. Leora often meditated in her cell, drawing strength from her memories of home and her deep sense of justice. She envisioned the lush landscapes of her planet, the serene faces of her loved ones, and the harmonious life they once led. These memories were her anchor, keeping her grounded and focused. Unknown to Leora, her resilience did not go unnoticed. Among the humans, there were a few who began to question the morality of their actions. Dr. Ethan Ward, a scientist who had initially supported the colonization efforts, was increasingly disturbed by the treatment of the Lyrans. He saw the strength and dignity in Leora's eyes and began to doubt the justification for their invasion. Dr. Ward started to secretly communicate with Leora, learning more about her culture and the true nature of the conflict. Through these conversations, he realized that the humans had been misled about the Lyrans and the necessity of the invasion. Leora's fury and determination inspired him to take action. Together, Leora and Dr. Ward devised a daring plan for her escape. The risks were immense, but Leora's unwavering spirit and Ethan's growing sense of guilt and responsibility made them determined to succeed. Their unlikely alliance became a beacon of hope, symbolizing the possibility of understanding and cooperation between their two races. As Leora prepared for her escape, her fury was channeled into a focused determination. She was no longer just a captive alien girl, she was a symbol of resistance and the hope for a better future for both the Lyrans and the humans. Leora's first days in captivity were a blur of pain and confusion. The high-security facility where she was held was a stark contrast to the vibrant, natural world she had known. Old, metallic walls and harsh fluorescent lights created an oppressive atmosphere designed to break the spirits of its prisoners. The humans wasted no time in starting their brutal interrogations. They were determined to extract information about Lyran technology and defenses. Leora was strapped to a metal chair in a small, dimly lit room. A single overhead light cast harsh shadows on her face as a team of interrogators surrounded her. "Tell us how your energy systems work," demanded the lead interrogator, a stern-faced man with piercing blue eyes. "We know your people have advanced technology. We want the details." Leora met his gaze with defiance. "I will tell you nothing," she replied, her voice steady despite the fear and anger churning inside her. The interrogator's face twisted with frustration. He signaled to one of his assistants, who activated a device that sent waves of searing pain through Leora's body. She clenched her teeth, refusing to cry out, refusing to give them the satisfaction. Days turned into weeks, and the interrogations continued. Leora's body bore the marks of their cruelty, but her spirit remained unbroken. Each session only strengthened her resolve to fight back. She drew on the teachings of her people, focusing on her inner strength and the memories of her homeland. In her moments of solitude, Leora meditated, finding solace in the tranquility of her mind. She visualized the lush forests and sparkling rivers of her planet, the gentle hum of life that surrounded her people. These memories were her refuge, a place where the humans' cruelty could not reach her. One day, as Leora sat in her cell, the door opened, and a man she had not seen before entered. He was different from the others. There was a softness in his eyes, a look of curiosity rather than cruelty. He introduced himself as Dr. Ethan Ward, a scientist working at the facility. "I'm here to ask you some questions," he said, his voice calm and measured. "But I'm not interested in hurting you. I want to understand your people." Leora regarded him warily. She had learned not to trust the humans, but there was something in Ethan's demeanor that suggested he was different. She decided to engage cautiously. "My name is Leora," she said. "If you truly seek to understand, then listen to my story." Ethan listened intently as Leora spoke of her people, their history, and their way of life. He was fascinated by the depth of their knowledge and the harmony in which they lived. As their conversations continued over the following weeks, Ethan began to see the Lyrans in a new light. He started to question the narrative he had been told about the necessity of the invasion. The more he learned about the Lyrans, the more he realized that they were not the threat the colonists had been led to believe. Leora's strength and dignity in the face of such adversity moved him deeply. One evening, after a particularly intense conversation, Ethan made a decision. He could no longer stand by and watch the atrocities being committed against the Lyrans. He approached Leora's cell, his heart pounding with determination. "We need to get you out of here," he whispered urgently. "I can't stand by and do nothing anymore. We can't do this to your people." Leora looked at him, her eyes filled with a mix of hope and skepticism. "And how do you plan to do that?" she asked. "The risks are immense." Ethan nodded. "I know. But I have access to the facility's security systems. We can plan an escape, but it will require precise timing and a lot of luck."
Over the next few days, Ethan and Leora worked together to devise a plan. They mapped out the facility, identifying weak points and potential escape routes. Leora's intelligence and resilience were invaluable, and Ethan's knowledge of the facility's inner workings gave them a fighting chance.
The night of the escape finally arrived. Leora's heart raced as she waited for the signal from Ethan. She had spent countless hours preparing, focusing her mind and body for the challenges ahead. This was their only chance, and failure was not an option. When the signal came, Leora sprang into action. Ethan had disabled the security cameras in her section of the facility, and she moved swiftly through the corridors, avoiding the patrols. Her heart pounded in her chest, but she remained focused, her mind clear and determined. Ethan met her at a predetermined location, and together they made their way to the facility's exit. The journey was fraught with danger, and they narrowly avoided detection several times, but their determination and careful planning paid off. As they stepped outside the facility, Leora took a deep breath of fresh air, savoring the taste of freedom. She looked at Ethan, gratitude and resolve shining in her eyes. "This is just the beginning," she said. "We have a long way to go, but we will fight for our people and for a better future." Ethan nodded, his resolve matching hers. "We'll do it together," he said, "for both our peoples." And so their journey began, a journey of resistance, understanding, and hope for a better future for both the Lyrans and the humans. As Leora and Ethan navigated the dense forest surrounding the facility, they moved cautiously, aware that their escape might soon be discovered. They had no time to rest. The urgency of their situation drove them forward. The forest, with its towering trees and thick underbrush, provided them with some cover, but it was also a challenging terrain to navigate. Ethan led the way, his knowledge of the area proving invaluable. Leora followed closely, her senses heightened, ready for any sign of danger. As they moved deeper into the forest, the sounds of the facility faded, replaced by the natural symphony of rustling leaves and distant animal calls. They reached a small clearing and decided to rest for a moment. Leora sank to the ground, her muscles aching from the exertion. Ethan handed her a canteen of water, which she accepted gratefully. "We can't stay here long," Ethan said, scanning the surrounding trees. "They'll be looking for us soon." Leora nodded. "I know. We need to keep moving. But we also need to think about our next steps. Where can we go that will be safe? Ethan thought for a moment. There's an abandoned outpost not far from here. It was used by the colonists during the early days of the invasion, but it's been deserted for a while. We can use it as a temporary hideout and plan our next move. Leora agreed, and they set off again, making their way through the forest. As they walked, Ethan couldn't help but reflect on the events that had led him to this point. His conversations with Leora had opened his eyes to the truth about the Lyrans and the unjust nature of the invasion. He felt a deep sense of guilt for his role in the conflict, but also a growing determination to make things right. Leora, too, was lost in thought. Despite her anger and resentment towards the humans, she found herself trusting Ethan. His willingness to risk everything to help her escape had shown her that not all humans were the same. There was hope for understanding and cooperation, but it would not be easy. They arrived at the abandoned outpost just as night fell. The building was small and dilapidated, but it provided shelter and a place to rest. Inside, they found some basic supplies that had been left behind, enough to sustain them for a few days. As they settled in for the night, Ethan lit a small fire to keep them warm. They sat in silence for a while, the crackling of the fire the only sound. Finally, Ethan spoke. "I've been thinking a lot about what you told me," he said, his voice low, "about your people and the invasion. I never realized how much we were destroying." Leora looked at him, her eyes reflecting the firelight. "It's not just about the destruction," she said. "It's about the way we've been treated. Like we're not even considered sentient beings. But we have feelings, dreams, and hopes just like you." Ethan nodded. "I understand that now. And I want to help. Not just to make up for what I've done, but because it's the right thing to do. We need to find a way to stop this conflict and bring peace." Leora sighed. "It won't be easy. There's so much anger and hatred on both sides. But if we can show them that understanding and cooperation are possible, maybe there's hope." They continued to talk late into the night, sharing their thoughts and hopes for the future. Their bond grew stronger, forged by their shared determination and the understanding that had blossomed between them. The next morning, they began to plan their next steps. They needed to find the remaining Lyran resistance and warn them about the human colonists' plans. Leora knew that her people would be wary of Ethan, but she hoped they would see the sincerity of his intentions. Their journey was long and arduous, but they pressed on, driven by their shared goal. Along the way, they encountered other survivors, both Lyran and human, who had been displaced by the conflict. Leora and Ethan did their best to help them, providing food and medical assistance where they could. As they traveled, they also spread their message of hope and cooperation. Slowly, they began to see signs of change. Some humans, moved by Ethan's words and Leora's resilience, began to question their own roles in the conflict. A few even joined their cause, forming a small but growing alliance dedicated to peace. Eventually, they reached the heart of the Lyran resistance. It was a hidden community, nestled deep within a remote valley. The Lyrans there were wary of Ethan at first, but Leora's presence and her vouching for him helped to ease their fears. Ethan spent hours speaking with the Lyran leaders, sharing his knowledge of the human colonists' plans and offering his assistance. Slowly, a tentative trust began to form. The Lyrans saw that Ethan's intentions were genuine, and they welcomed him into their community. Leora was finally reunited with her family, a moment of profound joy and relief. But she knew their work was far from over. The resistance needed to be strengthened, and they had to prepare for the inevitable confrontation with the human colonists. With Ethan's help, they began to plan their next move. They needed to find a way to disrupt the colonists' operations and force them to reconsider their actions. It was a daunting task, but Leora's determination and Ethan's knowledge gave them hope. As they worked together, Leora and Ethan's bond deepened. They became not just allies, but friends, united by their shared vision of a better future. Their journey was far from over, but they were no longer alone. They had each other, and they had hope. The Lyran resistance camp was a bustling hive of activity. Leora and Ethan spent their days planning, training, and strategizing with the other resistance members. The Lyrans, with their advanced technology and deep understanding of their environment, had managed to evade capture and maintain their stronghold, but they knew the human colonists would not give up easily. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the valley, Leora and Ethan sat together, discussing their next move. They had gathered intelligence on the colonists' main supply depot, a crucial target that, if disrupted, could significantly weaken the human forces. "We need to hit them where it hurts," Ethan said, pointing to a map spread out before them. "This depot is heavily guarded, but if we can take it out, we'll cut off their supplies and force them to reconsider their position." Leora nodded, her eyes scanning the map. "We'll need a diversion," she said. "Something to draw their attention away from the depot. And we'll need to move quickly and decisively." They spent the next few days meticulously planning the operation. Leora and Ethan led a team of skilled Lyran warriors, each one committed to the cause. They trained rigorously, honing their skills and preparing for the mission ahead. The night of the operation arrived, and the resistance team set out under the cover of darkness. They moved silently through the forest, their senses heightened and their hearts pounding with anticipation. As they approached the depot, they split into two groups. One group, led by Leora, would create a diversion, while the other, led by Ethan, would infiltrate the depot and implant explosives. Leora's team positioned themselves near the main entrance of the depot. At her signal, they launched a coordinated attack, drawing the attention of the guards. Alarms blared, and chaos erupted as the guards scrambled to respond. Meanwhile, Ethan's team slipped through a side entrance, moving swiftly and silently. They planted explosives at key points within the depot, working with precision and speed. The tension was palpable, but they remained focused on their task. As the explosives were set, Ethan's team retreated, regrouping with Leora's team just as the diversionary attack reached its peak. With a final signal, they detonated the explosives, sending a massive shockwave through the depot. The explosion lit up the night sky, a beacon of their resistance and determination. The mission was a success, but it came at a cost. The resistance team faced intense retaliation from the colonists, and several members were injured. Leora and Ethan managed to escape, but the danger was far from over. Back at the resistance camp, the mood was a mix of triumph and somber reflection. They had struck a significant blow against the colonists, but they knew the fight was far from over. The colonists would retaliate, and they needed to be prepared for the next phase of the conflict. Leora and Ethan's bond continued to grow, strengthened by their shared experiences and the trust they had built. They were more than just allies, they were partners in a fight for justice and freedom. Their determination and resilience inspired those around them, fueling the resistance with hope and a renewed sense of purpose. As they prepared for the challenges ahead, Leora and Ethan knew that their journey was far from over. The fight for their people and their planet continued, but they were no longer alone. They had each other, and they had a vision of a future where Lyrans and humans could coexist in peace and harmony. The success of the mission against the depot had emboldened the Lyran resistance, but it also brought increased scrutiny from the human colonists. The tension in the camp was palpable as everyone prepared for the inevitable retaliation. Leora and Ethan knew they needed to stay one step ahead. Their next objective was to gather more allies. They decided to infiltrate another human facility, one known to hold captive Lyrans who might join their cause. The facility, located in a heavily fortified area, presented a significant challenge, but the potential gain made it worth the risk. Leora, Ethan, and a small team of resistance fighters set out at dusk. They moved quickly and quietly, avoiding detection as they approached the facility. Ethan, having worked in similar facilities, used his knowledge to disable the perimeter alarms and gain entry. Inside, the team split up, with Leora and Ethan heading towards the holding cells. They moved through the dimly lit corridors, encountering minimal resistance thanks to their careful planning. When they reached the cells, they found several Lyrans, weak from captivity, but still possessing the fire of resistance in their eyes. Leora approached one of the cells and spoke softly to the captives. "We're here to help. We need to move quickly." The captives, recognizing Leora as one of their own, nodded in agreement. They had heard whispers of the resistance and were eager to join the fight. Ethan worked swiftly to unlock the cells, and the newly freed Lyrans gathered around them. As they made their way back through the facility, an alarm suddenly blared. The team's presence had been detected, and guards began to swarm the area. A fierce firefight broke out, with the resistance fighters using their superior knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. Leora and Ethan fought side by side, their bond stronger than ever. They moved with a synchronized precision, covering each other and taking down enemies with efficiency. The freed Lyrans, though weakened, joined the fight, their determination and anger giving them strength. Despite the intense resistance, the team managed to reach the exit. They burst through the doors, escaping into the night with the freed captives. The facility behind them erupted in chaos as the guards scrambled to regain control. Back at the resistance camp, the mood was one of celebration and relief. The new recruits were welcomed, and their stories of suffering and survival fueled the resistance's resolve. Leora and Ethan knew that they had taken a significant step forward, but they also understood that the fight was far from over. The next few days were spent regrouping and strategizing. The resistance had grown stronger, but so had the colonists' determination to crush them. Leora and Ethan knew they needed to stay ahead, to keep pushing forward, despite the odds. As they prepared for the next phase of their mission, Leora took a moment to reflect. She had come a long way from the captive alien girl, broken and beaten in a human facility. Now, she was a leader, a symbol of resistance and hope for her people. Ethan, too, had undergone a transformation. He had started as a scientist, complicit in the colonists' actions, but he had found redemption through his alliance with Leora. Together they had forged a path towards a better future, one where Lyrans and humans could coexist in peace. Their journey was far from over, but they faced it with renewed determination and hope. The breakout had been a success, and it had shown them what was possible when they worked together. Now, they were ready to continue the fight, to push forward and reclaim their home. With their forces bolstered by the freed captives, the resistance camp was buzzing with renewed energy and determination. Leora and Ethan knew that their next move needed to be strategic, aiming to weaken the colonists' hold on the planet while also rallying more support from other Lyran communities. Their next target was a communications hub controlled by the colonists. This hub was crucial for the human forces, enabling them to coordinate their operations and maintain control over their territories. By disrupting their communications, the resistance hoped to create chaos and confusion among the colonists, buying time for their next major offensive. The journey to the communications hub was fraught with danger. The hub was located in a heavily fortified area, surrounded by human settlements and patrolled by advanced security drones. Leora and Ethan led a small team of elite fighters, each one skilled in stealth and combat. They moved under the cover of darkness, navigating through dense forests and rocky terrain. The nights were cold, and the days were harsh, but their resolve kept them going. Along the way, they encountered other Lyran survivors who joined their cause, bolstering their numbers and strengthening their resolve. As they approached the hub, Leora and Ethan devised a plan. They would split into two teams, one to create a diversion and draw the security forces away, and the other to infiltrate the hub and plant explosives. The plan was risky, but it was their best chance at success. The night of the operation arrived, and the teams moved into position. The diversion team launched their attack, drawing the attention of the security forces and creating a chaotic scene. Meanwhile, Leora, Ethan, and the infiltration team slipped into the hub, moving swiftly and silently. Inside, they encountered fierce resistance, but their training and preparation paid off. They fought their way through the facility, planting explosives at key points. The tension was palpable, but they remained focused, knowing that failure was not an option. With the explosives set, the team made their escape, detonating the charges as they fled. The hub erupted in a series of explosions, sending shockwaves through the surrounding area. The colonists' communications were thrown into disarray, and the resistance team retreated into the night, their mission a success. Back at the resistance camp, the mood was triumphant. The successful operation had dealt a significant blow to the colonists, and it had shown the Lyrans that they could fight back and win. Leora and Ethan knew that they had taken a crucial step forward, but they also understood that the fight was far from over. In the days that followed, the resistance camp became a hive of activity. More Lyran survivors arrived, drawn by the tales of the Resistance's successes. The camp swelled with new recruits, each one bringing their own skills and strengths to the cause. Leora and Ethan worked tirelessly, training the new recruits and planning their next moves. They knew that the colonists would retaliate, but they were ready. They had built a formidable force, united by their shared determination and hope for a better future. Their journey home was not just a physical one, it was a journey of the heart and spirit. They had faced incredible challenges and had grown stronger for it. They had built alliances and forged bonds that would endure, no matter what lay ahead. As they prepared for the next phase of their mission, Leora and Ethan took a moment to reflect on how far they had come. They had started as unlikely allies, brought together by fate and circumstance. Now, they were leaders, guiding their people towards a future where Lyrans and humans could coexist in peace. The journey home was long and arduous, but they faced it with unwavering resolve. They knew that they had the strength and determination to overcome any obstacle, and they were ready to continue the fight for their people and their planet. The Resistance camp had grown into a thriving community, a beacon of hope for the Lyran people. Leora and Ethan's efforts had not only strengthened their forces but also united their people in a common cause. The colonists, though still a formidable foe, were now facing a determined and organized resistance. One evening, as the sun set over the valley, casting a golden glow over the camp, Leora stood on a makeshift platform, addressing the gathered Lyrans. Her voice, strong and resolute, carried through the crowd, filling them with a renewed sense of purpose. "We have come a long way," she began. "We have faced unimaginable challenges and endured great suffering. But we have also shown incredible strength and resilience. We have proven that we can fight back, that we can fight back, that we can win. And we will continue to fight until our planet is free." The crowd erupted in cheers, their spirits lifted by Leora's words. Ethan stood beside her, his heart swelling with pride. He had seen firsthand the strength and determination of the Lyran people, and he knew that their resolve was unbreakable. As the days turned into weeks, the resistance continued to grow. Leora and Ethan worked tirelessly, forging alliances with other Lyran communities and training new recruits. They knew that the fight was far from over, but they also knew that they had the strength and determination to see it through. Their next target was a major colonist outpost, a strategic location that controlled key supply routes and resources. Taking it out would significantly weaken the colonists' hold on the planet and provide the resistance with much-needed supplies. The operation was complex and dangerous, requiring careful planning and coordination. Leora and Ethan spent countless hours devising their strategy, working with their most trusted advisors and fighters. They knew that the risks were high, but the potential rewards were too great to ignore. The night of the operation arrived, and the resistance forces moved into position. Leora and Ethan led the main assault team, while other teams provided support and diversionary tactics. The outpost was heavily fortified, but the resistance had the element of surprise on their side. The assault began with a coordinated attack on the outpost's defenses. The resistance fighters moved swiftly and decisively, taking out guard towers and breaching the outer walls. Leora and Ethan led the charge, their combined strength and determination driving them forward. Inside the outpost, the fighting was intense. The colonists, caught off guard by the sudden assault, struggled to mount a defense. The resistance fighters, fueled by their desire for freedom and justice, fought with unparalleled ferocity. Leora and Ethan made their way to the outpost's command center, where they encountered the colonist commander. A fierce battle ensued, with Leora and Ethan fighting side by side. Their skills and determination proved to be a formidable combination, and they managed to defeat the commander and secure the outpost. The victory was a significant one, and it sent a powerful message to the colonists. The resistance was no longer just a group of rebels, they were a formidable force, capable of challenging and defeating the colonist forces. Back at the resistance camp, the mood was celebratory. The successful operation had boosted their morale and provided them with valuable supplies and resources. Leora and Ethan knew that they had taken a crucial step forward, but they also understood that the fight was far from over. In the days that followed, the resistance continued to grow and strengthen. More Lyran survivors joined their cause, bringing with them valuable skills and knowledge. The camp became a thriving hub of activity, a symbol of hope and determination for the Lyran people. Leora and Ethan's bond continued to deepen, forged by their shared experiences and the trust they had built. They knew that they still faced many challenges, but they also knew that they had the strength and determination to overcome them. As they prepared for the next phase of their mission, Leora and Ethan took a moment to reflect on how far they had come. They had started as unlikely allies, brought together by fate and circumstance. Now they were leaders, guiding their people towards a future where Lyrans and humans could coexist in peace. Their journey was far from over, but they faced it with unwavering resolve. They knew that they had the strength and determination to overcome any obstacle, and they were ready to continue the fight for their people and their planet. The resistance had grown into a formidable force, and the time had come for a decisive confrontation with the colonists. The colonists, aware of the growing strength of the resistance, had fortified their main stronghold, a massive complex that served as their central command center. Taking it down would be a monumental task, but it was essential for the Lyrans' liberation. Leora and Ethan knew that this battle would be their most challenging yet. They spent weeks planning and preparing, gathering intelligence, training their fighters, and forging alliances with other Lyran communities. The resistance camp was a hive of activity, with everyone focused on the upcoming battle. The night before the assault, Leora and Ethan stood together, overlooking the camp. The moon cast a silvery glow over the valley, and the air was filled with a sense of anticipation. "Are you ready?" Ethan asked, his voice filled with determination. Leora nodded, her eyes reflecting the same resolve. "We're ready. This is our moment. We will fight for our people and our planet." The following morning, the resistance forces moved into position. The plan was to launch a multi-pronged attack, hitting the stronghold from multiple directions and overwhelming the colonist defenses. Leora and Ethan led the main assault team, while other teams provided support and diversionary tactics. The battle began with a coordinated strike on the stronghold's outer defenses. The resistance fighters moved swiftly and decisively, using their superior knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. Explosions and gunfire filled the air as the battle raged on. Leora and Ethan fought side by side, their bond and trust in each other evident in every move. They were a formidable team, their combined strength and determination driving them forward. As they breached the stronghold's outer walls, they encountered fierce resistance, but they pressed on, undeterred. Inside the stronghold, the fighting intensified. The colonists, desperate to maintain control, threw everything they had at the resistance fighters. But the Lyrans, fueled by their desire for freedom and justice, fought with unparalleled ferocity. Leora and Ethan made their way to the stronghold's command center, determined to take down the colonist leadership. They encountered the colonist commander, a ruthless and cunning adversary. A fierce battle ensued, with Leora and Ethan using their skills and determination to defeat the commander and secure the stronghold. The victory was a monumental one, and it sent a powerful message to the colonists. The resistance had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with, capable of challenging and defeating the colonist forces. The stronghold's fall marked a turning point in the conflict, giving the Lyrans a significant advantage. Back at the resistance camp, the mood was one of triumph and celebration. The successful battle had boosted their morale and provided them with valuable supplies and resources. Leora and Ethan knew that they had taken a crucial step forward, but they also understood that the fight was far from over. In the days that followed, the resistance continued to grow and strengthen. More Lyran survivors joined their cause, bringing with them valuable skills and knowledge. The camp became a thriving hub of activity, a symbol of hope and determination for the Lyran people. Leora and Ethan's bond continued to deepen, forged by their shared experiences and the trust they had built. They knew that they still faced many challenges, but they also knew that they had the strength and determination to overcome them. As they prepared for the next phase of their mission, Leora and Ethan took a moment to reflect on how far they had come. They had started as unlikely allies, brought together by fate and circumstance. Now they were leaders, guiding their people towards a future where Lyrans and humans could coexist in peace. Their journey was far from over, but they faced it with unwavering resolve. They knew that they had the strength and determination to overcome any obstacle, and they were ready to continue the fight for their people and their planet. The fall of the colonists' stronghold marked a turning point in the conflict, but it was not the end of the struggle. The resistance continued to face challenges as they worked to liberate their planet and rebuild their society. The colonists, though weakened, still had significant resources and were determined to maintain their foothold on the planet. Leora and Ethan knew that the next phase of their mission was crucial. They needed to consolidate their gains, strengthen their alliances, and continue to push back against the colonist forces. The resistance camp was a hive of activity, with everyone focused on the tasks ahead. One of their first priorities was to establish a provisional government for the Lyran people. Leora, with her leadership and vision, was a natural choice to lead this effort. She worked tirelessly, bringing together representatives from different Lyran communities and forging a new path forward. Ethan played a crucial role in this process, using his knowledge of human technology and strategy to support the resistance's efforts. He worked closely with Leora, helping to bridge the gap between the Lyrans and the remaining human colonists who were open to peace and cooperation. As the provisional government took shape, the resistance also focused on rebuilding their society. They worked to restore infrastructure, provide medical care and education, and ensure that everyone had access to basic necessities. It was a monumental task, but the Lyran people were resilient and determined. Leora and Ethan's bond continued to grow, strengthened by their shared vision and the challenges they faced together. They knew that their journey was far from over, but they were committed to building a better future for their people and their planet. One of their key initiatives was to promote understanding and cooperation between Lyrans and humans. They organized forums and discussions, bringing together representatives from both sides to share their experiences and perspectives. These efforts were met with skepticism at first, but over time they began to see progress. As the months passed, the resistance made significant strides. The colonist forces were pushed back, and more Lyran communities were liberated. The provisional government gained legitimacy and support, and the foundations of a new society began to take shape. Leora and Ethan's leadership was instrumental in this process. They inspired those around them with their vision, determination, and unwavering commitment to justice and peace. Their journey had been long and arduous, but they had come through it stronger and more united. As they looked towards the future, Leora and Ethan knew that there would still be challenges ahead, but they also knew that they had the strength and resilience to face them. They had built a foundation for a new beginning, one where Lyrans and humans could coexist in peace and harmony. The journey home had been a long and difficult one, but it had also been a journey of growth and transformation. Leora and Ethan had found each other, and together they had forged a new path forward for their people and their planet. Their story was one of resistance and resilience, of hope and determination. It was a story of a people who had faced incredible challenges and had emerged stronger for it. And it was a story of a new beginning, where the bonds of empathy and understanding could pave the way for a brighter future. The Lyran planet, once scarred by conflict and oppression, was slowly healing. The efforts of the resistance, led by Leora and Ethan, had brought about a new era of peace and cooperation. The provisional government had transitioned into a stable and representative body, and the foundations of a new society were firmly in place. Leora stood on a hill overlooking the valley where the resistance camp had once stood. The camp had transformed into a thriving town, a symbol of the resilience and determination of the Lyran people. She took a deep breath, savoring the fresh air and the sense of hope that filled the valley. Ethan joined her, a smile on his face. "We've come a long way," he said, his voice filled with pride and gratitude. Leora nodded, her eyes reflecting the same emotions. "We have, and we couldn't have done it without each other." Their bond had grown into something deeper than friendship, a partnership forged in the fires of conflict and tempered by their shared vision of a better future. They had faced incredible challenges and had emerged stronger for it, their bond unbreakable. As they looked towards the horizon, they saw the future they had fought so hard to create. A future where Lyrans and humans could live together in peace and harmony, where understanding and cooperation were the guiding principles of their society. Their journey was far from over, but they faced it with unwavering resolve and hope. They knew that they had the strength and determination to overcome any obstacle, and they were ready to continue the fight for their people and their planet. Leora and Ethan's story was one of resistance and resilience, of hope and determination. It was a story of a people who had faced incredible challenges and had emerged stronger for it. And it was a story of a new beginning, where the bonds of empathy and understanding could pave the way for a brighter future. As they stood together on that hill, they knew that their journey had just begun, and they were ready to face whatever lay ahead together. And so, the story of Leora and Ethan, of the Lyran resistance and their fight for freedom, came to a close. But their legacy would live on, a testament to the power of hope, determination, and the unbreakable bonds of empathy and understanding.